Evening, everyone. Meteorologist Bill Rensselaer alongside Chief Meteorologist Ken Siemek in the 1011 Now streaming studio. Ken, how's your Tuesday?
Oh, well, it's been better. I've had better Tuesdays. This stuff, and it wasn't unexpected. These storms, these severe storms, to pop up in north central Kansas and south central Nebraska, but they did it right as we're entering that 6 o'clock show, and so you've got about 200 things going on at the same time. Those warnings for south central Nebraska, north central Kansas were canceled early, so that's the good news there. But we think, Bill, that as the evening wears on, some additional, at least isolated severe storms are certainly going to be possible.
Yes, and it's always kind of tough because almost the whole state is covered under a marginal risk. We pull up our weather graphics. You can see there again, marginal risk covering, basically everything but southwestern Nebraska. So, and again, when we look at these SPC outlooks, it kind of goes back to what we talked about during Severe Weather Awareness Week, watches and warnings. The ingredients are there tonight. There's a deepening low. There's some moisture return. There's going to be the low-level jet that kicks in.
Got a warm front moving across the state.
Everywhere, the ingredients are all kind of there.
Right.
And so it's just kind of where the storms pop.
And this is not a tailor-made, widespread severe weather event. The situation that Bill was just talking about is a lot of the ingredients for some severe storms are there, but it's not a widespread or expected to be a widespread event. It's going to be hit and miss. It's going to be very isolated, kind of like, I want to compare it to last Friday, but I think last Friday probably had more of the ingredients coming together, or more of those ingredients at a higher level than what we're seeing tonight. Now, that certainly doesn't mean, and in fact, we've got a couple of storm reports here. The Phillips County, Kansas warning actually has blown power poles down, and it started a grass fire. So these are the other things. You don't have to have a lot of severe weather to cause some issues. And so we've had 3/4 inch hail reported near Campbell and Webster County with some of these storms. And again, those are the storms that weaken below severe limits.
For now.
But we're going to continue to watch radar very closely because we do expect additional either strong or severe storms to be popping up. So yes, the chance or the risk of severe storms is still there for the remainder of the evening across a wide array of counties in the 10-11 coverage area, but we don't think it's going to be widespread. And as you mentioned to me, the Storm Prediction Center about an hour ago put the severe thunderstorm watch risk or expectation at only 20%.
So most areas tonight likely probably going to stay dry, but there are some areas that could see some pretty noisy weather over the next several hours. So you look at the current satellite and radar picture, again, it looks like they actually just issued that new warning, Ken.
There we go.
But you can see, again, most of the state right now pretty quiet. It's been in south central Nebraska, north central Kansas that we've seen most of the activity this evening. And if we turn on the radar and kind of zoom into those areas, the latest warning and the newest warning we've had issued, that's for Adams and Webster counties. And they're talking 1.5 inch sized hail, so that's ping pong ball sized hail, and 60-mile-an-hour winds. So if we just go ahead and zoom in on that warning, that's just to the southwest of Blue Hill, and I can pull up the warning text and we can read that off. So that was located near Bladen, or 24 miles southwest of Hastings, moving northeast at 20 miles an hour, ping pong ball sized hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds. It's going to be around Bladen at 7:05, so in about 10 minutes. Blue Hill around 7:20, and Roseland and Air around 7:30. So again, that's the latest warning. You can see where Bladen is. Again, grab my pointer here. I've lost my pointer, Ken. So right here would be the strongest part of that storm, just to the southwest of Bladen. Again, just to the west and southwest of the Blue Hill area.
Indicating some hail radar as well, not an awful lot, or some hail, some lightning. Not an awful lot of lightning, but some lightning with these storms as well. So again, it's going to be that 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and anywhere from 1 inch to 1.5 inch size hail. They're going to be the main threats from these storms. And this is some of the same area that had the severe thunderstorm warnings between 6 and 6:30. So now we're seeing those same areas getting another round of thunderstorms. So if you look back towards the south and west, the rest of those storms are non-severe at this time, but could certainly go severe at any minute.
Yeah, storms near Franklin, Republican City. Again, heavy thunderstorm activity, likely some heavy rain in there, some gusty winds, and maybe some small hail, but nothing yet that would indicate that those storms have reached severe limits. But again, all that activity kind of generally sliding off to the north and to the west, I mean, kind of in the general vicinity of the Lincoln area, Ken. And I think earlier today we, have said during the shows that Lincoln's window of opportunity probably not going to be until 8 o'clock or maybe even later.
Right, but probably between post 8 o'clock and then between 8 o'clock and midnight if these storms hold together. Now, what's the expiration time on this, Bill? Is it 7:30?
7:30.
So we're looking at 7:30. So we see the warnings, we see the counties being warned. Why don't you put it back in loop mode? I think a lot of times when we're on live TV or live streaming with folks, you get more information from that loop mode than you do almost anything else, because it lets you know where you're at and whether these storms are making a beeline for you or whether you might get missed to the west or get missed to the north or to the south. And so you can see these storms continue to funnel towards the northeast. That's what we're looking at now. And we're probably still talking about storms that are 100 miles away from the Lincoln Metro. Now, that doesn't mean that we couldn't see storms pop up between this line and the capital city. The severe activity right now is still probably 100 miles to the west and southwest of the Lincoln Metro.
And part of what we're waiting for this evening is that low-level jet to strengthen. Again, there's not a lot in the atmosphere right now to really kick off thunderstorms, which is why it's just a marginal risk. But the low-level jet's one of those things that can initiate thunderstorm and continue thunderstorm activity. So again, all of this will continue to watch as it moves to the north and to the east. Again, could impact Lincoln later on tonight. You will obviously have the latest tonight at 10.
At 10 o'clock. And don't be surprised if some of these storms that are south and west of that warning, don't be surprised if they don't get warned at some point in the next half hour or hour as they move to the north and east.
Yep. So again, if you just kind of pan over to Lincoln a little bit, you can see again nothing threatening the Lincoln or Lancaster area right now, or southeastern Nebraska. Those areas that saw some very heavy rain on Friday probably don't need any more right now, and so we'll continue to watch that.
And there aren't very many places where you could say that in Nebraska right now, right? We don't need any more rain, but some of those locations picked up in excess of 2-3 inches of rain with some of those thunderstorms. And again, it wasn't a widespread event Friday, but the places that got hammered with rain really got hammered with rain. So those would be the locations that would just as soon not see another 1.5 or 2 inches of rain from these thunderstorms either tonight or tomorrow night.
I know the folks in Weimar are still picking up after those storms. But unfortunately, again, if we miss tonight, we have another opportunity tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. A little different setup, a little bit better, probably a little bit better setup, which is why we have the slight risk for severe weather for eastern and southeastern Nebraska. Cold front tomorrow is making its way across the state, Ken.
And we're going to see a little more turning in the atmosphere as we go up into the atmosphere. And so the main threats tonight, the hail and the damaging winds and an isolated heavy rain threat. Tomorrow, you're going to have those same threats: hail, damaging winds, heavy rain possible, but we're also going to throw in at least the small chance right now of an isolated tornado. So tomorrow's risk is probably at a little bit higher level than what we're seeing tonight.
And yeah, and I think you also mentioned the heavy rain threat. They've actually, again, the Weather Service has, obviously the severe weather outlooks. We're looking at it right now. They also issue basically flash flooding outlooks. And basically in these same areas, we have at least a slight, a marginal, I guess it would be, for flash flooding. So again, training of thunderstorms is going to be possible again tomorrow, kind of like what we had on Friday. And again, you could end up with quite a bit of rain pretty quickly. So.
And people go, how can we have a flash flooding issue? It hasn't rained in my location in 6 weeks. It's not about the total. It's about how hard it rains over a short amount of time. And then even if you haven't seen rain for 2 months, it's going to cause some problems because that water is just going to run off. It's not going to soak in. And so that's when you can have street flooding. That's when you can have creek flooding, tributary flooding, and all kinds of problems like that in a situation where that rain comes down very hard in a brief amount of time.
And Ken, I'm going to jump backwards here again real quick because we had a new severe thunderstorm warning that was issued in south central parts of the state. So we'll pull up those warnings again here real quick.
So we're going to guess it's probably one of those cells to the south and west of that, yes.
Franklin County.
Not surprising.
And that also runs until 7:30, so for 29 minutes. 1-inch hail and 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts are the main hazards with these storms. So again, you're looking at kind of the base level severe thunderstorm warning there in Franklin County. I pull up the warning text. Thunderstorm was located near Franklin or 28 miles southeast of Holdridge, moving northeast at 30 miles an hour. Locations impacted include Upland and Campbell. And again, if we zoom in just a little bit here, You can see probably the strongest part of that storm just to the north of Highway 136. Again, just almost directly to the north of 136 near Franklin. Again, moving to the northeast, so Upland and Campbell, we'll be seeing that storm move through here in the next 20 or so minutes.
And it looks like we've got a little more lightning with this particular cluster. And the other thing that we want to remind folks is that, you know, you might be sitting at a location and going, man, the winds are howling and I can hear it hailing out there. Well, you could have 50-mile-per-hour winds and penny-size hail, and guess what? You're not going to get a severe thunderstorm.
Nope.
Warning, right? The criteria is 58 mile per hour or greater winds and quarter size or 1-inch size hail or larger. So even though the rest of these thunderstorm clusters may not have warnings, that doesn't mean that you aren't seeing 50 mile per hour winds and some small size hail in some of these locations.
And so again, I'll put that back in loop mode again really quick just so folks can kind of see the movement of those storms. So moving to the northeast at about 30 to 35 miles an hour. Again, folks, upland, upstream, as you kind of look towards Hastings, again, folks in the Hastings area likely could see these storms move through over the course of the next 30 to 60 minutes or so.
And you're seeing a little bit of activity, non-severe, but developed now east of Hastings.
Yep.
So as these storms continue to roll to the northeast, what happens? Well, the rain cools the air. The cool air starts to rush out a little bit away from some of these thunderstorm clusters, and that can act like mini cold front. That air can act like a mini cold front, and that creates enough lift that you can see some additional thunderstorm development. And that's why, you know, these particular storms, if they would hold together, it would probably be post 8 o'clock, and maybe even later than that by the time they would get to Lincoln. But as this cold air or cooler air rushes out, and we've got temperatures in the 70s and dew points that are in the upper 40s and lower 50s in southeastern Nebraska, as that cooler air rushes out ahead of these or away from these thunderstorms, we could see additional thunderstorm development.
And we're also seeing some additional thunderstorm development actually back to the south and west as well. So again, those areas that in Franklin County, you're seeing one storm move through and there's another one hot on its heels. So again, folks in Napanee, Franklin, Riverton, again, kind of along and south of that Highway 136 corridor, you're about to see another one roll right through. And again, at least on radar, it is presenting as a rather stout cell.
And we're absolutely right. And we're talking about waves of thunderstorms now, right? And this is what Bill was talking about when he mentioned training earlier, where we're concerned about heavy rain. Well, and that is certainly the case, but you can also see round after round after round of severe thunderstorms as well, where they can drop hail, and you can go, oh gosh, good, the thunderstorms move through my area. Well, this is not a cold front where everything's going to sweep through. This is several ingredients in the atmosphere coming together that could linger, and as that low-level jet, those winds aloft, 5,000, 10,000 feet off the ground, start to speed up later tonight, that creates more enhancement as far as the lift is concerned, and so additional thunderstorms even after dark, where we lose the maximum heating of the day, which a lot of times helps to fire these thunderstorms. Even after dark, that low-level jet can continue to create a scenario and an atmosphere or a situation where these thunderstorms continue.
So that's absolutely right, Ken. Moving back again to the SPC outlook for the day tomorrow, kind of where we were before that new warning was issued. Again, so we have that marginal and slight risk across the eastern sections of the state, including Lincoln, southeastern Nebraska. So isolated to scattered severe thunderstorms are going to be possible tomorrow. Large hail, damaging winds, flash flood threat, and again, a low-end tornado threat. If I see if I can pull up here, that's actually the tornado outlook for the day tomorrow. So the area in green is a 2% chance. Basically anywhere within that green polygon, there's a 2% chance for a tornado within 25 miles of a point. And then the area shaded in brown is a 5% chance. So again, you mentioned it, chance is low, but it's not zero.
But it's not zero. And I think that's a key, especially after the severe weather season that we've had across the country. Any non-zero threat of a tornado always gets our attention, and that's certainly something that could change over the next 12 hours. So, you know, we'll continue to get some updated information on some of these maps and some of these outlooks, but it is certainly something enough for that southeastern corner of the state to pay attention to tomorrow.
And this is the wind outlook, which again, the area shaded in yellow is a 15% chance of basically severe winds. And then this is hail, which again, the yellow is 15%. The kind of hatched area means significant hail is possible, and that's 2-inch hail or larger. So again, kind of southeastern Nebraska, hail, wind threat highest, tornado threat probably third, actually I'd say probably fourth, flash flood threat is probably third.
Well, and when you say 2-inch size hail, remember a golf ball. Everybody's seen a golf ball, or a lot of folks have seen a golf ball. Golf ball's 175, 1.75 inches. So when you get up to thunderstorms that are capable of updrafts that could drop 2-inch size hail, that's a real serious situation as well.
Yeah. So we'll run through SkyCast here again. Ken, you make such beautiful maps.
Thank you. Thanks for noticing.
It's a crime that they don't get more airtime, so I wanted to make sure.
It is a crime, but I wish they were more accurate. If they were more accurate and good looking, then we'd have something there. Yeah.
So walk us through your map here tonight, Ken.
All right, so here's the warm front. So we were talking about breezy and warm conditions, especially over the southern half of the state today. The dew points have risen a little bit, so we're getting some low-level moisture in here. And we're also getting some energy coming at us from the central Rockies. We're going to have that low-level jet. We've got some convergence now at the surface. That's helping create these thunderstorms now during the evening. Everything, that warm front's going to continue to push towards the east and northeast. So even though the thunderstorm threat will continue probably through midnight, if not a little bit past that over eastern portions of the state, that whole situation then moves east, shifts east of the Missouri River, but hot on its heels, we've got the cold front with this particular weather system that comes in late tomorrow afternoon. So while any area ahead of that front will probably see temperatures back in the 70s tomorrow with some gusty south winds for a good period of the day, once we get to the afternoon hours, and especially late afternoon into the evening, and that cold front is moving into eastern and southeastern Nebraska, another round of strong to severe thunderstorms are expected to develop along that boundary as it continues to push east. Back behind that front, no severe weather threat for tomorrow across the western two-thirds of the state, but it'll be turning breezy and cooler, and then those breezy, cooler conditions will continue as we end the work week. But we're also going to have, this is not it's not a situation where everything is cut and dried, Bill, and once we get the front to move through, it turns nice and the sun comes out and everything's wonderful. No, it's breezy and cool, not only on Thursday, but it's going to continue into Friday. We've got this chance for rain that will continue off and on a spotty basis on Thursday. Not expecting severe weather on Thursday, but it's going to be a chance of precipitation. And then you can see that dashed line. That's a low pressure trough, a surface trough that's going to kind of swing through here on Friday as well. Probably not going to create any moisture, but it's going to reinforce the northwest winds and the unseasonably cool temperatures that we're going to see. We're looking at highs in Lincoln, maybe in the lower 50s on both Friday and Saturday. Friday night, we could drop into the 20s here in Lincoln. And you mentioned when you put the 7-day together today that the record low, I think, is 25 Friday night to Saturday morning. So that Saturday morning record low is 25. Right now, we're forecasting 29. And then on Sunday morning, the record low is 26, and we are forecasting 26. So we should be in the lower 40s. And those are the kind of temperatures we're going to talk about later this week.
Yeah, it is going to be chilly. I feel bad for Kevin and the sports
oh, gosh.
crew. Again, the spring game will be fun on Saturday, and again, everyone who's going, they'll wear a coat and they'll
be fired up.
But conditions could be better.
Absolutely.
So that's a look at the surface map, and I wanted to add one thing. Out ahead of that, cold front tomorrow. Dew points maybe in the upper 50s to near 60, so you may feel it tomorrow in Lincoln and southeast Nebraska.
For maybe the first time,
maybe just a little bit on the muggy side. So if we zoom in, take a closer look, and take a look at SkyCast, this is 7 o'clock. So this was about 10 minutes ago. I think doing a pretty good job. With real-world conditions and the placement of those thunderstorms. Maybe just a little bit too far east, but again, doing a pretty good job. So if, again, you walk through time here. Oh, I clicked too fast. So again, there's 8 o'clock. Again, continues to push all that activity to the north and to the east. As you head towards 10 o'clock, that's when we potentially have some storms moving through the Lincoln area. Again, does the low-level jet really kick in tonight? Do these storms maintain their strength? Are they severe as they move through Lincoln, or are they maybe just below severe limits?
Right.
Again,
Lots of questions. But that's why we're here, right?
That's right.
And that's why we'll be here at 10, and beyond that, in case there's an ongoing severe weather threat. But you can see how much of the state is not looking at any kind of severe weather. However, this south central, southeast, east central part of the state, over the next, probably 4 to 6 hours, we're going to have to keep a very close eye on things, because any of these storms that develop during the evening and even past that 10, 11, 12 o'clock time frame could be strong to severe.
And then by midnight, again, you still see some lingering stuff there, but then past midnight, a lot of that stuff moves east out of the area. You start Wednesday, probably mainly dry, but you can see those winds already turning to the west and northwest for parts of central western Nebraska. A lot of what will go into Hussey storms tomorrow is the position of that front. And again, our in-house model here basically has that front almost right on top of us. So it fires up those storms along a line, I'd say probably Tacoma, Lincoln down to Beatrice. And then quickly they're already moving off to the east by 7 o'clock there. Again, there's a little bit of lingering stuff in Lancaster County, but again, it's already off to our east. Another one of our high-res models, our rapid refresh model, even develops it even further to the east. So I would be curious to see what the new SPC outlook for tomorrow looks like tonight, if they kind of shift everything to the east.
Even today, compared to yesterday's Storm Prediction Center severe weather risk for Wednesday, today, it got that Wednesday risk got shoved a little bit further east. So is that a trend that continues tomorrow? Do they leave it where it's at? Suffice it to say, it's going to be close enough. It's going to be a close enough call that we're going to need to pay extra attention to it, and we will over the next 18 hours. Because you're talking about, I mean, now you're talking about less than 24 hours from now about trying to determine whether we get severe thunderstorms developing between 4 and 7 o'clock tomorrow, late afternoon, early evening, or whether that front gets a little bit quicker and gets through the Lincoln and Omaha areas so that it's east of here by the time those thunderstorms, the severe storms, start to develop.
And it always seems like that the front always gets
a little
east
quicker,
of,
moves
east
a
of
little
Lincoln
faster
before those storms fire up. It's going to be almost a carbon copy of what we had on Friday in terms of, I think, probably where these storms are firing up. So again, stick with us and we'll have all the latest forecast details for you over the next 24 hours or so. But again, you see past 7 o'clock, in-house model basically shoves everything off to the east. By midnight tomorrow night, most areas probably pretty quiet at that point. So in terms of temperatures, Ken, you mentioned it, but we're kind of topsy-turvy here as we head over the next couple days. Lows tonight, not too bad, especially after we were at 24 degrees yesterday morning. It was 44 this morning in Lincoln. Low 60s is what we're looking for tonight. So again, you could probably keep the window open tonight if you wanted to. A little cooler in the west. Highs tomorrow, again, behind the front, 50s and 60s ahead of the front, 70s, maybe low 80s. Again, it'll all depend on the timing of that front.
Lincoln could easily hit 80 tomorrow, or it might stall out in the lower 70s, depending on when that front arrives and moves through.
Absolutely. And then behind the front, that's when temperatures take a tumble. 20s, 30s, 40s for lows Thursday morning, highs Thursday afternoon. Not bad. Just a few degrees below normal in Lincoln.
But breezy.
Mid-50s
and a
to
chance
mid-60s.
for rain, at least some scattered showers.
A chance for some rain. You just keep raining on my parade here, Ken.
Sorry, bud.
My Thursday parade. And then things get cold. Friday morning, mid-20s to mid-30s. Friday afternoon, as that upper-level trough swings through, even colder air spills south. We're looking at low 40s to low to mid-50s.
66 degrees. Let me throw that out there. That's the normal afternoon high now is 66 degrees, and you had 52 on Friday.
And then lows, if you've not put anything in the ground yet in your garden, wait.
Absolutely.
Because lows Saturday morning, we're looking at low 20s to maybe low 30s west to east. Lincoln 29. I don't think there's any really opportunity that we stay above freezing.
Doesn't look too good right now.
And then it's even colder Sunday morning, but Saturday highs again, upper 40s, low 50s. Sunday morning, we're looking at mid-20s for most areas. And again, you mentioned that the record low in Lincoln for Sunday is 26, and that's what we're going with for right now.
My yard looks terrible. I just want you to know that. The only thing that's coming up is the concrete. Everything else is not looking too good. So we need some rain, and we got to get these 20s out of the. And what did we talk about earlier today? You looked up the average date
last freeze
of the last spring freeze, and it is for Lincoln
April 23rd.
April 23rd. So we're close, but we're not there.
You get past this week, I'd say maybe, but
maybe
we've had a handful of them in May. So
yeah.
So we'll kind of see where it goes. One last, I'm gonna real quick back it up here and just take one last quick look at the satellite and radar before we let everyone go. And we'll pull up the composite first. So again, there you can see the activity in south central Nebraska moving to the north and east. Still have those same two warnings, which go for another 15 minutes. And again, folks in Hastings, likely going to see this activity move through in just the next couple minutes. If I put the radar on and zoom in just a little bit. So again, still looking at ping pong ball sized hail for that storm just to the north of Blue Hill. The storm just north of Franklin moving into Upland and Campbell. Quarter sized hail and 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So again, those areas that are seeing it rain pretty good right now. Hildreth, Upland, Campbell, Air, Roseland's probably going to see this in the next few minutes. Junietta is going to see this in the next few minutes. Hastings, Glenville, Blaine, Inland, and again, from there, moving further to the north and east, you got Trumbull, Harvard, Stockham, Giltner, Aurora, Henderson, kind of down the line.
And from the looks of this right now, we're not going to see a severe thunderstorm watch unless this thing blows up. I mean, right now, what have you got, Bill? Maybe 6 counties that are impacted, maybe, one or two more than that. And so this is why the risk for today was marginal. That's why we continued to talk about at 5 and 6 the conditional severe weather threat, because it's not all of these ingredients coming together in massive form. It is, yes, it's possible, not expected to be widespread, and so what happens when the low-level jet kicks in? What happens later tonight? We lose the heating of the day, and the low-level jet kicks in, you lose the heating of the day. Does that balance each other out, and do we just have some showers and a few thunderstorms, or do we get enough enhancement with those low-level jet winds to create an additional round of severe weather? So that's what we'll be watching between now and 10 o'clock. But again, right now, if you could see the Lincoln and Lancaster County area, there's no threat around here.
On Haymarket Park
7:02.
Probably not a bad night for it.
Yeah, right now it sure looks that way.
So, but yeah, so Ken will obviously continue to monitor everything going on this evening. Again, he'll have all the latest tonight at 10. And obviously, again, keep an eye on the weather tomorrow. I would say tomorrow is the bigger issue than today is. So again, yeah. Keep it tuned to 10-11. Brad will have the latest in the morning, and we'll have it all again tomorrow afternoon.
Sounds good, and join me at 10.
All right. Appreciate everyone for tuning in, for watching. Hope everyone has a, is it Tuesday?
It is.
Tuesday?
All night. It'll be
day?
Tuesday.
Okay.
All the way till midnight.
Hope everyone has a nice Tuesday evening.